So did you know Paladins added a new update? Well, neither did I until the day it dropped, so let's briefly go over the balance changes.
Choose your champion!
The first balance change is
Ash.
Slug Shot. Now deals an extra 50 damage per shot. I always thought an idea for the Slug Shot talent would be to have her projectile do more damage the more distance it travels, kinda like Grover's axe, but they decided to just give it a flat 50 damage boost instead, which I guess also works.
Strike first, strike hard.
Full of holes.
Do this.
As a person who never uses Slug Shot, I might consider using it sometimes. Now I'll finally be able to duel that peskiness on Timber Mill that keeps teleporting away after taking 0.001 damage. Next up is Fiery Disposition. Damage over time is now only applied by Grenade Launcher.
That's for me.
I thought the damage over time only applied to her grenade launcher at first, but apparently it was triggered off all her explosives. As a person who evidently never plays Betty, I am not saddened by this nerf at all. Following Betty, we have Chokehold. Old effect removed, whatever that was. New effect, increase the travel speed and distance of Commander's Grab by 4% per level.
For the magistrate!
Speed is equal to distance over time. If speed increases and time remains constant, then that means distance also increased. So maybe that's why they said the distance was also increased. Needless to say, con players will all breathe a sigh of relief as the big man avoids nerfs for yet another patch. Now it's time for Koga, Adrenaline Junkie. Increased damage needed to generate 1 energy from 80 to 160. This means that instead of moving like a superheated gas particle undergoing Brownian motion, Koga will now be affected by the laws of gravity and the force of friction. Following Koga is Lilith. Murderous Intent. Old effect removed. New effect. Hitting an enemy with Heart of Crimson while they're affected by Blood Hex or Swarm increases your movement and attack speed by 10% for 4 seconds. Stacks up to 3 times.
Fine. I've made a mess of them, haven't I?
Do this!
If you hated the concept of damage supports because you're a flank main, then I recommend putting your monitor out of punching distance while going up against this new rapid firing 2-timing debuff applying life stealing alt healing extra tanky vertically inclined menace. Moving on, we have Cat Burglar. Reduce damage bonus from 30% to 25%. Reduce bonus threshold from 5 seconds to 3 seconds.
Don't give up, friend. Welcome to the mince kitten.
Champions like Maeve are the reason I play on controller, where projectile users wouldn't be able to hit Pain Shabaku Tensei attack after having used Registeel's lock-on during the previous turn. Seeing her nerf means that she'll now be played by controller players 0.00001% of the time instead of 0.0001% of the time. Next up is Ripened Gourd. Now deals 60% damage to enemies instead of 0%.
They're firing on me!
With this change, I will now be punished less for messing up my gourd throws when it bounces off random objects in the environment. Seriously, how do you aim this darn thing? Following Namba is Umbral Lance. Change effect to be Aphotic Reaver no longer ramps down, but its spread is reduced by 50% and its fire rate is reduced by 30%.
Spend those credits. They're starting to get heavy. Be gone!
This will probably make Omen into a more up-close DPS. The pick rates of Leon and Cassie climb as we speak. Next up is
Ruckus.
Flux Generator. Increased shield granted from 1300 to 1500. Now also reduces Emitter's cooldown by 1 second, and while Emitter is active, Ruckus gains immunity to crowd control.
Missed me!
Now all Ruckus needs is more shield health, shorter cooldowns, a larger healing ability, the Infinity Gauntlet, and a non-kamikaze ult, and he will finally become a viable point tank. Lastly, we have
Vaatu.
Enveloping Shadows. Now has an internal cooldown of 3 seconds.
I must buy items. Check the store for items.
This change makes Vaatu a more balanced character instead of being a Dragon Ball Z villain that got transported to a normal universe. You can now rest easy knowing that your team will no longer get solo spawn camp because your last pick chose Moji instead of direct current Torvald. And that wraps up the balance overview. As always, thank you all for watching. Remember to stay safe out there, show respect where it is due. Aqueous Solutions have water as their solvent. I am the Hopeful Entertainer, and hopefully you've been entertained.